2.62 kilometre Oran Park circuit features a very, very long main straight and a superb variety of corners that really test the rider's skill. On the 500cc Marlboro Yamaha, you'll be doing 270 kilometres an hour down here before sitting up, braking and changing back 3 gears for this very, very tricky left-hander at the end that requires that you brake going through the corner, because you've got to slow the bike down, change back another gear now down to 2nd gear for that very, very tight corner at the end before a burst of acceleration underneath the bridge, briefly up into 3rd gear before heavy braking again, kneeling down on the front tyre, using all the front tyre's grip into the 2nd gear, very, very tight corner, then a tricky left fleck out of there, back against once more to a tight 2nd gear corner. This is where McGee is actually using 1st gear on his 500 Yamaha, but McElnay uses 2nd and accelerates very, very hard up into 3rd gear over the bridge before sweeping right into this tricky bumpy corner, out of there, accelerating all the time into that sweeping downhill right-hander, then into the left-hander, still in 3rd gear, another left-hander coming up. It's a really very, very fast sweeping corner this, still in 3rd gear, accelerating hard out of here, up into 4th gear now before the very important right-left flick over the Honda corner. The bike goes light over here, the front of the track drops away as you accelerate before braking very, very hard and back into 2nd gear for the last very tight left-hander. The drive out of here, all important for that fast speed down the very, very long Oran Park straight.
The Oran Park lap record is 1 minute 13.3, an average speed of 128 kilometres an hour. Let's now look at the men who are going to go a lot faster than the motorcycle on that lap.
Rob McElnay, the underdog in 3 previous Swann series, now the favourite, but only 2nd fastest yesterday.
Winner of the Castrol 6 Hour, the RI 500, the Denso 500 and the Hub 300. 24-year-old Kevin McGee is the find of 86. Faster in practice yesterday than McElnay. If he's going to beat Rob, it's got to be today.
Michael Dowson, the Marlboro Yamaha dealer team rider who missed out, showing enormous determination though on a production bike to be 3rd fastest.
3rd generation Australian solo champion Donnie Osborne is on the ex-Mal Campbell Honda RS 500, the bike that beat Wayne Gardner last year. Osborne's father and Melbourne enthusiast Vince Genova spent $30,000 to buy him the bike, and it's been money well spent.
Some say Wayne Clark should be known as Crasher Clark. He's certainly hard trier Clark, and on a 980cc Suzuki, equal 4th fastest.
Look for the potential dice between Donnie Osborne and English Grand Prix rider Simon Buckmaster. Buckmaster was blitzed by Osborne at Surfers Paradise, and it's a matter of honour that he should fight back today on his later model Grand Prix Honda.
The 6-time South Australian champion Hamish McNichol has the same power on his TZ Yamaha as the YZR Grand Prix bikes, but it's an old bike and it's a heavy bike, and so 120.5 his best.
14 bikes on the grid for the start of this round 2, leg 1 of the Swann Insurance International Series. They'll go off now on 2 warm-up laps, come back for a clutch start.
First away is Michael Dowson, wheeling the big 130 horsepower, 206 kilogram FZR 1000 production bike, and then his teammate Kevin McGee does the same on the YZR 500.
And of course these warm-up laps absolutely crucial today. The weather's quite cold here at Oran Park, and there's no tread pattern on these slick tyres, and they rely on the fact that the rubber has to be pushed around for it to warm up and then mould itself around the tarmac and create some grip.
Dowson on 1, Craig Trinder on 5, Kevin McGee on 2. And in fact, on the basis of the points scored in the first round, this is the way they will grid up. But in fact, it's the practice times yesterday not reflected in the grid positions, where Kevin McGee was fastest by half a second, but McElnay 2 wins last weekend, Kevin McGee 2 seconds, Donnie Osborne 2 thirds, Michael Dowson 2 fourths, Buckmaster 2 fifths, Horton 1 sixth, Wayne Clark troubles with his 980cc superbike last weekend. Craig Trinder running very well here earlier today. A victory in a 1000cc A-grade race. Jeff Paul on 34. Steve Watts number 69 on a superbike, in fact. Watts has been over in Japan this year, a very disappointing season for him. There's Buckmaster on the yellow RS 500 Honda. McGee, the pace setter yesterday, 1/10 of a second outside Wayne Gardner's lap record set last year here on the V4 Honda that was runner-up to the Yamaha of Eddie Lawson's in the World Championships.
And of course these in motorcycle racing, the grid position's nowhere near as important as it is in car racing, and there we see M for McElnay in the middle of your picture, because their bikes are so close off the line. In fact, I'd expect to see perhaps somebody like Michael Dowson leading off the line, because the four-stroke will be quick off the line than a bike like this 500 Grand Prix two-stroke of Rob McElnay's.
But this really is an outstanding, determined performance by the 24-year-old Victorian Kevin McGee, chasing this man, Rob McElnay, who's had a full season on these very, very quick bikes. They're regarded as the best in the world, but on the other hand, you've still got to be very good to get the best out of them. And yesterday, although McGee thinks that McElnay was taking it easy, and the fact that he went and played a round of golf on his handicap 16 rather than do the third practice session suggests that might be the case, McGee feels he will have to get into the 12s today to match the time and to match Rob McElnay.
Mind you, I wonder how McElnay felt yesterday when he learned on the golf course that the young fellow had knocked over his time. As they come now up to the start-finish line for the start of round 2, leg 1 of the Swann Insurance Series.
The end of this heat is the halfway mark in the series. 3 heats out of the 6 of the 3 rounds. So next weekend, Calder, 2 heats there, brings it to a close.
The field now on the grid for the start of the Swann Insurance International Series, round 2, leg 1 at Oran Park. In starter's hands. Good start, and Donnie Osborne away. Kevin McGee right at the back of the field.
And both the Marlboro Yamahas badly positioned, but there's McElnay surging down the inside to 3rd place. It's Donnie Osborne, though, that leads.
Wayne Clark in 2nd place, Dowson up to 4th.
Sungskus there on 39 at the back of the end of the field. There's McGee, slotted the latter part of the first half of the pack.
Clark looks for a way on the inside of Osborne, can't find it. McElnay hangs back, not wanting to get involved in their dice this early. There's 12 laps, 30 kilometres of Oran Park to cover.
3 bikes between McGee and McElnay up in front in 3rd place. And McGee just has to hope that McElnay gets held up sufficiently by the leading pair for him to be able to get close to him before he starts to break.
And Osborne did a very impressive 1 minute 14 in a practice session this morning. Said he was very, very pleased with that. Said it was no real effort for him to do it, and he's showing that now.
Great stuff by Donnie Osborne leading the pack. Wayne Clark on the 780 Superbike closing on him. McGee's made some places. He's up to 5th.
But I think you'll see it all come to naught now as we get onto the straight, and McElnay unleashes the awesome power of the 500 Yamaha.
Through Clark goes McGee. Will he take Osborne now? Nope, Osborne's got the guns on him. And down comes McGee behind Clark, trying desperately to cling to Rob McElnay in front of him. McElnay down the inside of Osborne and takes over the lead in the Swann Insurance Series as McGee slams down behind him.
Donnie Osborne was prepared to lean on Rob McElnay there, but McElnay just forced his way through, and that was very intelligent. He's going to make good ground here on Kevin McGee. This is critical. McGee could be held up for quite a long while with Osborne riding as hard and as determinedly as he is. 12-lap race, 31.5 kilometres. This is lap 2.
McGee,
well done, Kevin McGee. Gee, was he cranked over there too as he made ground on the first part of the S's, the right-hander there on McElnay.
This is now the most crucial segment of the race, because McGee, for the very first time in this series, is right up behind McElnay. He has to learn a little more from McElnay about breaking deep into the corners if he's going to beat him, and he's now in the position to do so, right in the slipstream.
Well, that has been a faster lap by Kevin McGee than by Rob McElnay. Lap 2.
Different gearing on these two motorcycles. McGee, in fact, has gone for a gearbox that makes him use first gear on 2 occasions, whereas McElnay has decided to stay with a 2nd through 6th gearbox only. And you can see the difference in the way that McGee was lifting his wheels down the straight.
You see the difference in lines as well, and look at Kevin McGee, confident there, but really on a bad entry to the corner.
But he can punch out of here, Will, because he's got the first gear, then up into 2nd, whereas McElnay was in 2nd all the way.
So he wants to set it up straight and punch it early, rather than a classical sweeping line on that corner. But another first gear corner there for McGee.
But it's in fact McElnay is getting away there because he's got the smoother drive in 2nd and the 500 Yamaha just a bit too lively, I think, in 1st.
Down into Yamaha corner, aptly named.
And the spot where McGee on the previous lap made a lot of ground on McElnay. Still, there is really only about 3/10 of a second between them. McGee closes under brakes. He really does make some ground. Now he has to get the power on early for the straight. McElnay puts on a show. He comes out of that corner in 3rd gear. In 2nd at least, up into 3rd, right through to 6th gear, back to 5th here, settle it down, back to 2nd.
And there was McGee getting a little bit loose under brakes there, the bike waving around more than McElnay's, but he was closing on McElnay at the time. He said that was one of the areas that he really had to close up, improve his style, braking deep into that left-hander, and he appears to be doing it.
McElnay's gone too wide there, he loses a little bit of ground. McElnay out after $50,000 bonus for winning all 6 rounds. Nobody's ever done it.
And again, the better drive, McElnay gets up over the bridge as the McGee's machine in 1st gear twitches a little wildly.
And you, well, look at the way through the S's. McGee is closed.
And this time, as they come over the Honda dogleg and down into Castrol corner, let's see if McGee can do anything to McElnay. No, he can't. McElnay deep under brakes.
I don't think there's any point in McGee leading the race at this point, because all he's going to do is show McElnay what he's capable of. He really would be better to sit behind the more experienced man and just watch what he's doing.
He has become, in his few years in motorcycle racing, a very heady rider indeed, Kevin McGee, and a very patient one who's often prepared to sit back just a little bit and to plan and to use strategy. He's not a go-for-broke man at all.
Just a little bit offline was Kevin McGee then. Going to lift the bike up to get it over the riffle strip.
Donnie Osborne on the V3 Honda, 125 horsepower, and a slightly heavier bike from the 1983 model Honda. A little bit off the 140 plus horsepower, and therefore the performance of these 2 bikes.
Rob Mack really has to break the tail now. He's got to get away to try and put some clear ground between him and McGee.
Good stuff, Kevin McGee, tailing the international rider, the Englishman who's in his 4th Swann series. That's longer than Kevin McGee's been racing a bike. 1:12.82.
Yes, a new lap record.
My word, by half a second. And Kevin McGee staying with the man that's doing it.
Wayne Gardner 1:13.3 this time last year in his dice with Malcolm Campbell, and now down into the 12s. This is real motorcycle racing.
And when Kevin McGee got off that bike yesterday after doing a 13.4, he said, Gardner did 12s last year in qualifying. He looked at Kel Carruthers, he said, how do you do 12s around here? And he's showing us how now.
And McGee's looking very, very impressive, not losing all of the road. He's got yards to spare in places, and I think he's just weighing up where he may be able to pass Rob Mack later.
McElnay punching well. Where's McGee? There he is. He's lost a little bit. And McElnay feels that his 2nd gear will just look after the rear tyre a little bit better as the race goes on than the more violent acceleration, perhaps wheel spinning acceleration, available to Kevin McGee in his 2 first gear corners. But look at him again making ground as he comes down to Castrol, to the heavy braking there as they go back to 2nd gear. 18 gear changes a lap. He's making ground on him. They're doing sub-lap record times. And Kevin McGee, wheel in the air, out after Rob McElnay.
Now, of course, this is the corner where Rob Mack actually crashed in one of his earlier races at Oran Park in one of the earlier series, so he isn't too keen on that corner, and it can be seen that McGee closes every time.
In fact, McGee really does have a couple of points of the track where he is significantly faster than Rob McElnay. Through that corner, underneath the bridge, and again as they go over the Honda dog leg.
Behind this tremendous dice, Donnie Osborne is third, Michael Dowson's up to fourth, Wayne Clark has gone back to fifth, but then he's disappeared, and it's Craig Trinder. And behind Trinder is Buckmaster.
I hate to sound a note of caution here, but it looks to me as though McGee's bike is working an awful lot harder now than Rob Mack's, and whether McGee has abused that rear tyre a little bit too much, whether the suspension setting, oh, and it's really weaving there. You see, McGee is now going something like nearly 2 seconds faster than he did most of practice, and of course that stresses the tyre, stresses the suspension. It asks an awful lot more of the machine than he has before, and maybe it's giving him some trouble.
But this is the consistency, nonetheless, that Kevin McGee's been looking for in the last few days of practice. He could put in some laps in the low 13s, but couldn't consistently do them. But now, with the hair of Rob McElnay in front of him, he's capable of staying up there with him and getting consistent sub-lap record times.
This really is sensational, because the man there on bike number 2 is having his second weekend of racing this motorcycle. Rob McElnay's been at it on this bike for the full season. They're doing sub-lap record times, and that puts him, there's only 5 other race riders in the world have been on this bike this year in anger. Only 13 of them have been built, and he is making superb use of it.
The thing was that McGee could only set up the bike in practice to the way he was riding. Rob Mack, with a season of experience, he knows what effect it's going to have going a little bit quicker in the race, and he was able to allow for that, setting the bike up. So now they've both dropped their times by about a second. Rob Mack's bike is probably handling better than McGee's.
4/10 of a second it was between them. McGee closes it again, and he comes out onto the straight. He's got it working and sliding and bucking, but still he sticks with it, and he sticks with Rob McElnay. They are not foxing, they are flying. Absolutely, and look at the way the man behind closes up on him.
So tantalising, that gap down the inside of McGee, but there's no way, rather McElnay, but there's no way that McGee can get the bike down there.
Tantalising the way the bike was walking around under brakes too, Kevin McGee's. They both have them flying. Great stuff, Kevin McGee.
Watching McGee now, really good riding, but the bike is twitching and bucking. Surely that means that the rear suspension has gone off a little bit. There's not enough damping there.
And the lap record is lowered even more. A 1 minute 12.72 second lap towards the end of the race, and McGee's still going for it.
Hamish McNichol is out, and I start to think, although the bike's moving around Peter Clifford, I reckon McGee's happy with it. He knows what he's doing, and I think he just might be waiting to make some sort of a bit more of a jump at Rob McElnay. Let's wait and see.
Well, of course, he's used to riding a production bike, a superbike, and he's used to having a very, very lively motorcycle underneath him. So he's probably much less phased by the movement than Rob Mack would be were the positions reversed.
McGee really does cut that corner beautifully. He's very much more economical there. Got to be efficient. Here they are. Oh,
yeah.
My goodness me.
A big twitch there as he came up onto the bridge.
And that was that first gear twitch. That's the first gear drive that is causing McGee a few problems.
Gaps out to 0.89 of a second between Rob McElnay and Kevin McGee. 2 laps remaining.
A very, very intelligent race from McElnay. He's just opened up a little bit of advantage. That's all he needs to make it impossible for McGee to make a last lap effort. And of course, Rob Mack now cannot afford to make a mistake and let McGee get a second chance.
Just 1 second between the flying pair.
but the speed at which McGee is learning, absolutely incredible. We're only halfway through the season. He locks up the back wheel a little bit there, chasing M here, McElnay. But he's learning so fast, and we're only halfway through the series. Yeah,
it is sensational riding. There's no question of that. To look at it another way, in his second ride on this bike, Rob McElnay, he was at the Italian Grand Prix earlier this year at Monza. He misread a signal on the last lap and tossed the bike away. It wasn't entirely his fault. Kevin McGee in the same situation, but with much less experience on Grand Prix bikes, almost no experience on working out gear ratios and all the available suspension settings that are available. He's attuned to production bikes and hotted versions of them, super bikes.
Rob Mack used every inch of the road and a little bit more there. He crossed the white line almost onto the grass.
And that's about a 12.7 again for Rob McElnay, and he certainly has, under great pressure now, consolidated against Kevin McGee. But boy, is there any disgrace in the way this man's ridden bike number 2. Absolutely superb riding. His wife Julie in the pits, expecting their child in about February, said, yes, I enjoy the racing, but I'm always pleased when the day's over, especially on this bike. It's so fast.
And if McGee wanted a second chance, he may be provided with it as Rob Mack closes up behind a tail ender. And this could balk him. No, he's got a really good drive over the bridge, passes the slower man.
And now it could be Jeff Paul who in fact holds up Kevin McGee as they come down into the old S's. McGee jumps through.
Kevin McGee again, I think he's done the right thing here, slipping back, being prepared to lose that little bit of ground. He's got the bike upright, he's done sensational times, and he's showing he's got an enormous amount of ability to control the bike, but also headiness in the way that he runs his race.
Up to the checkered flag comes Rob McElnay to win round 2, leg 1 of the Swann Insurance International Series at Oran Park, with Kevin McGee in second position.
And into third place it should be Donnie Osborne, and to give you an idea of how fast these boys have been travelling, it is a long way yet before third place gets to the finishing line. And
there goes Donnie Osborne.
So Donnie Osborne third on bike number 3. The race time for Rob McElnay was 14 minutes 44.34 seconds, 127.1 kilometres an hour, confirming that result. Sensational riding from the 2 Marlboro Yamaha riders on the YZR 500s, and very good by Donnie Osborne, as McElnay says, oh dear, the pit of my stomach, and McGee says, terrific stuff.
The pace of the race is such that